Hello, welcome to the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. Another week, another episode. And before I get into it, thank you so much for all of the wonderful feedback that we keep receiving about the podcast. It has totally blown us away and was not at all what we imagined when we first started. We thought we were going to have some nice chats and a few people would listen. Thank you so much. And we will keep on churning out the podcast once a week for now, although we have had some requests for more than one, but we're not quite ready for that yet. So on this week's episode, Dom and Dave will be joining you to talk about your superpower that you are probably underestimating and underutilizing as part of your business strategy. So Dom and Dave are going to be joining you very shortly to share how you can utilize this. It's so simple but not necessarily easy to do, but when you do it, everything just becomes easier, more fun, and more magic happens. So I'm really excited for you to hear from Dave and Dom this week. So without further ado, over to Dom and Dave.
Hello, Dom. How are you today?
I'm feeling very excited about this episode because I love sharing this stuff with the listeners. So welcome to the listeners. Dave, where are you in the world at the moment?
Currently in the Philippines. We're super excited. This is brilliant. The first time we've ever met our team. We are recording this in the end of November 2023. And we are literally going to, some of the team members we've been working with for 4 years, and this is our moment. It's going to be great. So really excited. Might have said that in other episodes. That's how excited I am to meet my team.
The team in person.
Love these guys.
Excellent. Yeah, it's very different when you meet them in 3D and actually see the whole of them rather than just their face. Anyway, so today's topic.
Okay, so today I'm excited about this one too because I think it's massive, and we've only really learned how massive in the last couple of years. The topic today is how your emotions are affecting your results. How your emotions, and the results can be anything. Obviously, we're going to focus on business here, property business specifically, but actually, it's results in life. Right. Like how your emotions are impacting everything that happens to you in life is huge. This is quite a big topic, right? We got a lot to cover. Yeah. So I'm just I'd love to just start with your thoughts at the beginning, Tom. Just
okay. Yeah. Just as you said it like that, I was like buzzing with ideas. So here's the thing. We experience the world effectively in two ways: through our thinking and through our feeling. But the reason why we do things is to feel. And, we are kind of programmed, our mind is just like a computer. We're programmed through our interactions and upbringing and all those things to think in a certain way, which then causes feelings that we then get addicted to. And then that's the way we think we're going to solve all our problems. We think that if I do more thinking and I act in this way that I've always acted, then I'll get different feelings and I'll get different results in my business. But actually, the opposite is true, isn't it? It's actually, we've got to have the feeling first and then things shift in our business. So that's my initial thought.
That's a great starting point. So you've basically laid it out there. The concept is if you feel it first, you'll then be able to get to the result. Yes. That's a primary concept, and I think it's one that gets explored in a lot of more esoteric books. Particularly, I'm thinking "Ask and It Is Given" is a very famous one. Abraham Hicks, Jerry Hicks. A fantastic book. I really enjoyed reading it. It's very out there. But I think it has a very valid methodology and point to it. And I think we should just go into some of the reasons for this on this episode, because I would have said 5 years ago, if you'd have spoken to me about this, Dom, just before we started working together properly, I'd have just been like, yeah, Dom, yeah, that's fine. No, really, I just got to get my head down and work. That's what gets results. And I am a convert. I am literally the other side now. I'm like, no, get your head up. Right. Look around you and enjoy what you're seeing, and the results will come. Yes. It's really that mindset of choosing how you want to feel the world, choosing the emotions you want first, and then allowing that to manifest the results. And it doesn't mean you don't do stuff. I think that's one of the big things for me that's like, I never really got about it before, like manifesting, or, you just like go and feel stuff and stuff will happen. It didn't make sense to me because logically, of course, you've got to take action.
Right.
You have to take action. Now, in theory, you've got to take some sort of action. You've got to work in some form or another, but that doesn't have to be bad, hard, suffering work.
Right.
That's where I think it all goes wrong. And I think you were saying something earlier about this concept of suffering, which I think is brilliant. So I'll let you share that, actually.
Yeah. So the quote that I absolutely love is that suffering is optional, struggle or struggling is a necessity. It's absolutely essential to our growth. So here's the thing. The difference is suffering is in our mind. We are causing ourselves discomfort, to feel maybe victimized, or that we have to achieve the whole time, or that we have to be, restless. We've got to keep active, keep doing stuff, otherwise we're never getting results, or we've got to be a real stickler for detail because otherwise we might get it wrong, and there's all these ways of thinking that effectively hold us back and cause us suffering and discomfort. And then we're kind of addicted to that discomfort. We think, but no, this is the way I must do it in order to achieve, because this is the only way I know and feel or would experience. And then you've got a struggle, and struggle is different in that life is a journey, and in order to grow, we have to face difficulties. And so it's like everyone's going up a mountain, right? And it's not getting to the top and suddenly life's amazing. It's always a journey up that mountain. And you'll come across all sorts of obstacles, boulders and things like that. But actually, as you go up the mountain, yes, it's tiring. It's, you're putting in energy and effort. But as you get up, you get a better perspective on life, a better view from the mountain. And that's when you realize that actually, yes, it's the journey of life, and it's the struggles that actually make it enjoyable, because then you achieve and you enjoy that growth. See, life is not a comfort-centered experience. It's a growth-centered experience. There are things that are going to be thrown at you from all sorts of angles, whether it's relationships, business, family issues, whatever it might be, but they're all there actually to help you grow. And the sooner we see that and learn that, the quicker we can get the lesson and move on and grow and get a bit different perspective, and we can choose to stop suffering as well.
Brilliant. And so what I'm getting from that is, just to put a slightly different angle on some of those things, suffering, you're talking about it being in the mind. Yes. Suffering is, for me, the perspective on what you're doing, and the struggle is the thing you're doing itself, right? So the struggle, it is hard work to walk up a hill. It is hard work going to the gym and lifting weights. Exactly. In order to grow your muscles, you have to lift the weights. You have to go through the struggle of improving, of working the muscle, and of breaking and slightly fracturing the muscle so that it can regrow. That's a struggle, but your perspective on it can be either a positive one or a negative one, and a negative one is the suffering one. And how that is a complete choice. And that brings me to a question for you, Tom. Why do you think it is that we so often choose suffering?
Oh, that's a deep question. Why do we choose suffering? Basically, we have this very powerful mind, and thinking is the ego. And the ego is not a bad thing, but it's not a very good leader. It's a great servant. If we have 30 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and we don't have to believe all of them. But here's the thing. Most people do. They think something and they think, oh God, that's, this is what's going to happen, or that's what's going to happen. And they believe all of their thoughts. But just like your gut is there to digest, your heart is there to pump, your brain is there to think. It will always be thinking, unless you get into deep meditation. But even then, it's thinking in a different way, right? It's a different frequency. So it's recognizing that you don't have to believe your thoughts, and knowing that they're always going to be there, and some of them are useful and some of them aren't. But whenever I need to make a really big decision, for example, I lead with my heart. And I learned the other day, my heart is not always right. Actually, it's more about doing the spine, but that's another day. But the point is, your brain is think of it as a servant rather than a leader, and go with instinct and heartfelt decisions rather than always thinking about them. Because here's the thing, you will, and it's like a golden rule, you will lead with emotion and you'll always justify things with the logic. And so it's good to be in touch equally effectively with your feelings as well as your thoughts. and then you make the most powerful decisions. Is when they're kind of combined. But ultimately, the feeling has the bigger impact, the more power.
More power. I was going to say with that, the problem I see is that we are habitually programmed in a habitual fashion to feel in a certain way.
Yes.
To for example, you beat yourself up when something doesn't go right. So where does this come from? Like, it's clearly trained into us from the age of 0 to 10 that if something doesn't go right, you've done wrong, that there you should have done better, that it should have been done in a different way. You shoulda, woulda, coulda comes in, and then if something doesn't go to plan, even, you start beating yourself up. And if something out of your control that you could never have had anything to do with, it goes wrong. And even though there is no connection between your action and the thing that happened, there's still a habitual emotional reaction to beat yourself up, which is suffering, right? The world has happened, and you've chosen suffering, but not consciously. Subconsciously, the program is happening in the background. So how do we that is happening at school all the time. I think parents maybe we habitually do it to ourselves, so then just by proxy what we say to the kids, we do the same. We kind of breed it into their thinking just by how we act, because we do it to ourselves. And then we go to school and you do your tests and you're kind of marked on it, and if you don't do well, you get a lower score, and it's kind of frowned upon and treated like something you should need to do better, you should be better. And I think just generally it's always there in our culture. So my question for you is, if this is how we're brought up, like what's it doing? What's it doing to our results? Let's bring it to this, right? So we've been brought up like this. If we're stuck in that zone of beating ourselves up, of feeling like we're not good enough, of struggling through life in a negative way, like thinking that if something goes wrong and all the shit hits the fan and it all craps up, that you've somehow failed and that this is a really bad thing, what's it doing to our results?
It's basically slowing them down dramatically and possibly stopping them from happening completely. If we go back to I think I know we've mentioned it before, but the scale of consciousness, which I absolutely love, by Dr. David Hawkins, and these there's a scale of feelings, everything from shame, guilt, apathy, grief, going into fear, and then anger and other things. All of those things hold you in inaction. They stop you taking action, and they kind of make you freeze. You also feel heavier and more dense, and it's almost, and if you measure a human mind and body and heart, when they have those feelings inside of them, their energy does not expand as far out as someone who's in a state of love, joy, and peace and enjoyment. So by having these emotions and feelings on a regular basis, what you're doing is you're stopping the opportunity from coming to you and for amazing synchronistic things to happen. So that's why it's so important to become really self-aware and train ourselves to elevate our emotions to a place of, I'm going to be courageous in the face of this fear. I'm going to be willing and accepting of whatever happens. I'm not committed. It's not that I'm not committed. I'm not attached to a particular outcome. I'm going to see things with reason, with balance, and I'm going to approach this situation from a position of ideally love, joy, and peace. And if you can do that in every situation, amazing things start to happen. And this is what we love to do with our delegates. And I think it kind of leads on nicely to the amazing shifts that we've seen in some of the people that we've been working with. Sometimes a little bit, less time, others for longer. But tell us about that.
Well, this is, I think, for me, what you've just described there is like the overview of these massive shifts that can happen because of this shift in your energy and in your emotion and what that means to the world. And I think we'll go in a second. I want to talk about why that is. Like, I've got some scientific things to say. I'm sure you've got some other great mindset things to say, Dom, as to why that is. Why is it that the emotional change is shifting your energy, and why that energy is having an impact on the world, which is having an impact on your results? But you're right. It's only really real if you see the results being real. And I think for me, it's been brought home so powerfully recently. You've brought up our mentees, the people on our program, because we have been pushing more and more down this path with not just ourselves, but with everyone we work with. And most recently, we a couple of months ago now did a full retreat with our clients where it was all about this stuff. And we literally spent 3 days delving into how they were holding themselves back and what the emotions were and how to shift those emotions, how to then change it to something much more positive, enjoyment, fun, these loving thoughts, loving feelings. How do you shift it from the negative to the positive? And then therefore, how do you view from a perspective wise, the thing that's happening to you, the thing that's happening at that time, how do you shift the perspective and the perception of it in your world? And there's many things we've employed in that. There's been a lot of techniques and
tools,
exercises, tools, but the results speak for themselves, because we're looking at clients who we've worked with for years here, some of them less time, some of them longer, but across the board, I would say every single client after that retreat we did has seen a faster growth in their business, has been happier doing it. And some of them are like overcome challenges and barriers that have been there for 6 to 12 months with no matter how many sessions we've had or logical approaches we've taken, those barriers have just continued to rise their ugly heads and be in the way, causing problems, causing them to be slower or not moving in some areas of their business altogether. Struggles that they just can't seem to overcome suddenly overcame. It was like, and it was almost an overnight thing. And for me, I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in Jackie's life. But there's something magical about then teaching others and then finding you suddenly see it in their lives. And you go, my God, this thing works. This is not just in my head. This is not just something I've dreamed up. Dom enlightened me 5 years ago or 4 years ago. I didn't just kind of make up, become hypnotized by Dom's magical eyes. Actually, I have now transferred the ideas to other people, and it's amazing. The results are just incredible. More money raised, more deals done, more investors kind of pushed through a pipeline process that I could not have imagined them happening so fast. It was just like click, click, click across the board. And most importantly, most of the clients, particularly the ones who are more advanced, who have done that, who have been with us for longer, and been hearing this for longer, they are loving it. They are having so much fun while they're doing it. They're less stressed than they've ever been, with more going on than ever's happened. So I'm looking at this going, wow, it's real. This shit is real. This is a magic drug we've got here. And we're now reflecting on kind of those of our, we don't have all of our clients on that retreat. We have people earlier days clients who haven't been on that retreat. And haven't been with us so long, and looking at the difference in how they're approaching, we have weekly huddles, 15-minute huddles where everyone talks about their current challenges. And you listen to someone who's been with us for 3 years talk about their challenges, and they're like, and Jackie's saying something like, well, how, you're having challenges, how are you having more fun with it to make sure it goes, you're enjoying it. And the people who've been for ages are going, yeah, easy. It's fun. I'm already having fun with it. It's great. And I'm going to get past this very quick. And they will. And then you've got the ones who have been with us for maybe, a few months who can't even comprehend looking at that challenge. They can't comprehend how it could be fun. It's like they can't actually work out perceptively, like perception wise, how do you shift it to actually make this fun? It's almost impossible. And you're right. What does that mean? That means they sit there suffering. And I know from experience, that means they're going to go much slower. The results are going to take much longer to come. And all I want for them to do is have a bit more fun and enjoy it and find a way to not suffer, because I know that they'll succeed quicker.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly. And the thing is, the reason why we do it is because it is a protection thing. Our mind, part of it with the amygdala and the mammalian brain, monkey brain, that wants to keep us safe. And so it wants to go to the known and not take risks, possibly, and not risk looking a failure or failing or making a mistake and all those things. So it is a natural way of thinking. But here's the thing: in today's society, we're not in danger the way we used to be. We're not about to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. We're not, thankfully, we're a relatively peaceful country. So it's no longer a useful way of thinking and feeling. And I think what was the shift is that the people who've So there was a study, it's called by Gray Laviolette, and it was that feeling tones influence thoughts and change thoughts. So when you change the feeling first, that's when things shift in the mind, because the mind basically spins. It just like will think over and over and again, just like a computer. It'll just do the same stuff, but effectively by changing the feeling, what you're doing is you're changing the program. You're shifting something energetically within you that then allows the thought to be released, or the negative thought to be released, and to a new possibility to be opened up. So it's not just a new perspective, it's also effectively an energetic shift in who you are. And as we know, everything in the universe is made up of energy, and so when you shift your energy in the body, and you can do that by spending time with amazing people and many others that we can talk about later, but that's when things really change. And then if you do that on a regular basis, which is also something obviously we love to do with our clients, is the training of, okay, what are your successes? What have you done? And so many people originally, when they start out, they're like, what have I done good? I can't think anything I've done. But then when you teach people to look on a regular basis, what are my achievements? What have I done? What are my successes? They go, oh, I've actually had a really good month. I hadn't realized, I hadn't thought about it until you get asked. But then by asking those people on a regular basis, what are your successes? You then begin to see them more and more. So you're in the gain of what you've created rather than the gap of what you haven't created. And I'm sure I've mentioned that before, Benjamin Hardy's gap and the gain. But it's such an important and yet simple tool to use. So yeah.
Well, that's really like you're identifying what is the seed of people's self-talk, because until you become aware, that's why self-awareness is the star of our mindset triangle in our blueprint. Until you become aware of what your mind is doing in the background, you can't change it. And what we've become aware of in ourselves first and then in our clients is, if you no one's thinking they're doing well, no one's thinking they're being successful. And why is that? Because they're not celebrating the successes when they happen. They're just like, oh well, that's of course that happened. Now I'm on to the next problem. Now, we obviously, life is a series of challenges and problems. That's literally what life is. It's like, what's the next challenge to overcome? But along the way, to keep the energy up and the emotion up, you have to take the time to reflect on the success and to say, in your mind, actually navigate your own self-talk, to choose what you're saying to yourself, to say, I look with awareness at what I have done, and it is good. Yeah. It has been very good, and this feels good. This choice of self-talk and of changing your emotion based on that is that's the whole shift, the whole start of changing a belief system, of changing your whole mindset around the world. It gets you on the path towards this constant feeling of joy and an actually ability to have a challenge come at you, and instead of be tackled by it, to feel great tackling it, and to just jump over it, even because you're in that energetic state. And I would say you've got the mental self-talk, but that is then precursored as well, or post-cursored. I'm not quite sure what that one is. But either side of that, you've got what comes out of your mouth. Yeah. What are you saying? And if you're saying, for example, I'm really worn out, you weirdly feel more worn out. Yes. If you say, just so overwhelmed at the moment, I just don't have enough time, you immediately feel energetically less, you feel like heavier, you feel more worn out as well, but it creates the feeling that you have less time just by saying it. So watching what you say is a massive starting point. And then secondarily, choosing how you think and actually being aware of what thoughts are going on, but then choosing to think certain things and then say them. That cycle is the beginning of the process to shifting this in your life and becoming someone new. If you become someone new in your mind, then you can become someone new emotionally. You can start to actually train yourself to be emotionally in a better place generally through just changing how you talk and how what you're saying to yourself. You change your emotion, which means you change your energy, what's actually happening and what you're putting out to the world, which therefore means you start to change your results.
Yes.
Literally, it's just a simple process.
Yes.
And we all think, oh, we ignore the first part. Well, I can be who I am. That's fine. I'm just stuck. I am who I am. And then we think, oh, well, that, you know, if someone does something shit, I'm going to be angry. And I'm allowed to be. So I'm going to stay in this state of being. This state of emotion is I deserve to be in this state of emotion. So you're stuck in your mind. You're stuck in your emotion. Energy stays exactly the same. But somehow we think we're going to get different results.
Right. Yes. Great. Now, just want to pick up on something there, because so the careful listeners will have picked up that I said feelings come first and you said thinking comes first. But of course, they both influence each other. And, you know, some studies effectively show that feelings come first. And you know, as a baby, you know, you feel first. You're not thinking about it. But as we grow older, we think it often first and then we feel it. But then the feelings are actually just memories. This is the amazing thing about feelings, is that most of them are memories of the past. And then we've got to discern between feelings and intuition, about kind of almost like gut instinct, as people call it, of, no, I think I need to be doing this rather than keep struggling here. You know, the guidance and other things, synchronicity and stuff that's happening in my life is kind of saying, I'm on the wrong path. I shouldn't be doing this, or I shouldn't be investing with this particular person right now. Or not be buying this particular house, because it's so difficult to get everything over the line. When you're in flow, as we've talked about before, when things are going well because you're seeing the positives and you're in a good space, you're feeling good, then things tend to flow more easily and it happens more easily. And that's what we want everyone that we work with to get to, is where it's not effortless, but it's enjoyable, and they know how to enjoy the journey, and they know that occasionally there'll be bumps, but actually it's about how we look at those bumps rather than seeing them as something that's really going to hold you back for any length of time.
So I was going to say, I've thought a lot about this whole thought first, feeling first thing. And I'm where I've kind of come to with it is, obviously habitually feelings come first, and what you've just explained is like 100% true. Habitually the body reacts to the world. So it's a reaction. So always in reaction, feeling comes first and thought follows. However, that doesn't, for me, then you have the option to bring in a thought, which will then create a feeling. You know, if you think something, and this doesn't mean like just think positive. Right. You've got to kind of think something more positive and engender that feeling inside of you. If you just think positive and ignore the feelings, you're never going to get anywhere in life. You need to like think something a bit more positive and work to bring that into an emotion, which you can do, and that's why we use things like meditation for it. Right. But we all know that, you know, you think and say certain things, they make you feel one way, and you think and say certain things, they make you feel another way. That you have that power, you have that control. Yes. But reacting to the world 100%, I believe myself, feelings are the reaction we always feel first, and then the brain rationalizes it through the ego, through the construct with which we view the world. But then along another line that I was thinking there is, you've got all of these thoughts and feelings, and they're all happening and they're creating results. I want to just go a bit further now into why that happens. Okay, so you've mentioned energetically, you've mentioned the fact that on an energetic level, you are, when you're feeling more negative and you have the lower frequency, we call them lower frequency and higher frequency. I'll just clarify that for everyone, because I've heard that in the past and I was like, what the fuck, what are people talking about? And actually, it is a scientifically proven fact. It has been measured with machines that emotions emit a vibration, that actually everything, according to quantum physics, is a vibration on a fundamental level, that we are an energy source, which is a form of vibration, as well as a physical, force, which is a piece of matter. So we are both energy and matter. And that has been known for the last 120 years or so, ever since, if anyone wants to read about this, the double slit experiment of the late 1800s, when it was first carried out, was pretty much in some ways the birth of quantum physics. It was the first start of realization that our current what's his name? Newtonian physics was not quite covering us. And then another 30 years later, Einstein comes in and really starts. Well, he was around at that time, but he was the one really pushing the boundaries of it. And anyway, off track there. We know we are energy and we know we are matter. Energy is a form of vibration. And when we have an emotional reaction, all it is, on a very base level, is a chemical reaction inside our body. Right. On a very basic level, the body has had a thought. It causes a neuropeptide to be released, which is a chemical signal in the body to travel down into the various glands of the body, all of whom have different jobs to release various different chemicals, which are called mostly hormones. And hormones get released, which create a feeling inside of us. That chemical reaction creates the feeling, and the feeling could be butterflies in the tummy, or it could be sweaty palms, or your heart rate starts to raise. These physiological reactions cause us to feel something. We then interpret it in our brain and say, what is that feeling? Oh, that's fear. Oh, I feel really scared because of this feeling, my clenching in my stomach. That is literally a physiological reaction based on a hormonal, a chemical response. Now, where does the energy come in? Because that's all happening inside on matter, this is the matter, the particle level. On an energetic level, it has been measured with machines scientifically that every time that happens, we are emitting into the world around us a vibration. We are emitting a form of energetic frequency to the world, which goes outwards. Yeah. And that is partly we have an energetic field as well, also being measured, but it's partly in the energetic field, but it actually goes further than that. It goes beyond the energetic field. So it both feeds into that field that we have. And it seems to be that when, like you said, when we are feeling lower frequency emotions, which are frequency being the waveform being bigger and heavier, we feel heavier. We feel anger, we feel jealousy, envy, grief, apathy. All of these are negative emotions. They make us feel heavy, and the emotion that goes with it creates a frequency that is longer and more a lower frequency. It's like a sound being lower. So on the other side of the coin, when we feel something positive like love and joy and happiness, we emit another frequency, which is a high frequency, which is a much faster waveform. Yeah. Now, this is going out into the world. This is emitting from our bodies at all times, and guess what? Everyone and everything around us is being hit by it. It's literally hitting them. And as per the rules of physics, which are laws of the world, and if you take a tuning fork and you make a sound that is in the same pitch as that tuning fork is one frequency. It's always one form of it's like a perfect tone of one frequency. If you emit a sound that is that frequency, that tuning fork resonates with it. It vibrates to the same level and it responds. Now, if you do a note that isn't that frequency, but is close by, it resonates a little bit. If you do a note that's very far away from it, it hardly resonates at all. This is what we're doing energetically. When you have an emotion, it emits from you, that frequency goes out, and the other people around you resonate. They start to vibrate to that frequency, which is why when you walk into a room and you know automatically when there's certain argument going on, because you resonate with those emotions. You're like, fuck, something's going on in here. I shouldn't be in this room. I'm going to get out quick. You know that because energetically that's happening. So think about that in your life, right? Every emotion we have, everyone else around us is basically feeling on a subconscious level, and they are responding to us based on that emotion. And if you feel negative in a scenario, what do you want to do? You want to run away. You don't want to be near that person. You don't want to get involved with them. So what's that doing to your business? If you're feeling negative all the time and you're putting out these negative frequencies, you're feeling really scared, you're feeling really worried, you try and go in a meeting with someone, you're trying to make a sale. Do you think that person's going to want to get into bed with you and like invest their money with you, or whatever the case might be? If you're trying to get a landlord on or whatever, like, if you're emitting that negative frequency, they're going to feel it, and and that brings us back to gut versus an intuition. These things, they're going to have a gut response to you, which is the concept is their body reacting on a resonant level and saying something feels uncomfortable here, something feels bad, and that's it. That's it. You're creating that response all the time. So
and of course, I'm sure the listeners are going to want to know, well, how do I do it? How do I do it? How do I fix it? And here's the difference between learning information and the big shift, which is where you, I think, have to put yourself in the environment of something that is going to shift your energy. And so, the how is things like, looking at your successes, meditating, do cold water therapy, cold showers, times when you're pushing yourself, but you're enjoying go for a run or something like that, where you're pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, but you're actually, there's a state of enjoyment from it, or after it at least. There's lots of little things that we can do. There's kind of more formal things like cognitive behavioral therapy, counseling, psychotherapy, and other things which can also help with that shift. But we're in the world of helping people succeed, and yes, we convey information, but the information is useful, but it's not the transformation that people have. The transformation happens when we're together in a group, when we are influencing, our energies are all influencing each other through various things, whether it's exercises, breathing, meditation, together in a group, that then causes a shift in everyone. Because as you mentioned, the vibration effectively affects everyone else. So by being together, by creating that environment, that's when people have shifts. But just learning it from a book or something like that, it just doesn't happen the same way. Listening to podcasts, it just doesn't happen the same way. You've got to be in the environment. That's always been my experience from being in the training world for the last 20 years.
I think for me, that is like a matter of the slow road versus the fast road. I think if you immerse yourself in books to read about this, and I can suggest so many. A lot of what I've said there is covered by Joe Dispenza in his books. He's just a genius at explaining that stuff, and he also has all the data and scientific proof behind it. But you can immerse yourself in all these books that cover all these awesome facts and change your perception and perspective slowly but surely. But it is a slow process because you're trying to do it all the hard work yourself. There's no leverage.
Yes.
So it's like pushing that boulder uphill all on your own. That's you reading those books. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, because actually reading those books is the start. That's you becoming aware of the boulder and realizing you want to get it to the top of the hill. Yeah. But if you want to shift quickly, finding some situation where you can get involved with other people who are also shifting, and you can have people around you who are guiding that way. That's true. That you're basically, you respond to their resonance. And if they're high frequency, that's going to be impacting you, and it's going to make quicker shifts and transformations for you, alongside the intellectual understanding of what's happening is always helpful as well. But it's actually not required. I know plenty of people. I'm a very intellectual guy. I'm very rational. Right. So for me, I always like to know all angles. But there's plenty of people who are not like me, who will just happily, they don't want to read the books, or they might read them and they don't really understand how to do anything about it. But they'll go onto an event somewhere, and it'll just be like, oh my God, this was amazing. It's all changed. It's all changed now, but they don't really understand what's changed. But it doesn't mean the results haven't changed. Yeah. The results did change because they changed. They just allowed it to happen. They flowed with it. And that's even something we haven't even covered today, right? We're talking about this session was all about change your emotion. What does it do to your results? Well, we've had it on previous sessions, talked about flow. You just about touched on it. But in essence, you cannot get into a state of flow unless you have an elevated emotion. It's one of the key components to it. You've got to be in a state that is not negative. Once you're in that state of flow, as I mentioned on a previous podcast with you, Dom, I remember I was in Spain at the time, it literally has so many powerful benefits to you, which are all going to be impacting your results. Yeah. Massively, better productivity, better learning, better emotions being created. So the world, it's literally well worth reading about that. And that's just one simple factor of how you can get these results. Just knowing that you can get yourself into flow more through having a better emotional state. I was going to say one other thing. I've forgotten what it is though. Something came to me there. No, but yeah, shifting that state, that's the key. So that you can say to yourself, I will no longer be beholden to the world. The world does not have to define how I feel. Yeah. And what can I do? How can I go about empowering myself to choose my emotions? Right. And once you can do that, you will see massive changes in the results. Yeah. Massive.
100%. Exactly right. And we've seen such a massive need for this from people that we work with, people that want to work with us, and others, that we've put on another retreat specifically for people who aren't sort of at the normal level that we'd work at. So do you want to tell us about that?
That was if anyone's interested, that's for us, it's been so amazing watching clients. Like, we've been working with clients for years and years now, and just to see the unbelievable leaps and bounds they made overnight, it felt like, from this retreat. We have a certain level criteria that people have to be at to work with us, and we're suddenly looking at a lot of people who are not there yet and just saying, we could help them to get there quicker. God, if they could just master some of this stuff, they will suddenly shoot their business forwards and actually be ready to work with us, be in a great place. And it could be the main thing that gets them over certain barriers that might be holding other people at a lower level, really struggling with those first parts of your business where just you're putting lots of time into learning about it, you're educating yourself, you're out there trying to do network, you're looking at properties, you've learned so much, you can analyze a deal, you're viewing properties. It's like it's all there, and it just doesn't seem to be clicking. And these people, we're like, this is what they need. This is it, because it's not knowledge, it's something else. And that something else is why we then said that next year we're putting on a retreat just for them, just for that type of person, and say, with this shift in your emotions and in how you view the world and how you approach the world, it opens you up. It's like a floodgates will be opened moment. And that's why we're putting that on next year now.
Exactly. So property strategy breakthrough. And I guess to the listeners, whether it's us or someone else that you do things with, we don't really mind. But if it resonates for you, I'm sure there'll be a link below so that you can see what it's about and see if it resonates, if it feels right as something to potentially look at doing. It's not for everyone. We'll obviously vet everyone that comes along, because we want the group to gel. That's really important. But if it's right for you, then have a look in the link below from your podcast and check it out, and get in touch if that's of interest.
Thank you so much for joining us on this latest episode. If you are interested in our Property Business Breakthrough Retreat, which was referred to as the Property Strategy Breakthrough Retreat by Dom on this episode, he's not the one that's in charge of naming stuff in our team. So if you're interested to come along to a retreat where we are talking about how you utilise this stuff in your business and overcoming those inner barriers that you have to doing that, then we will pop a link in the show notes. We are just launching it at the moment, so you are one of the first to hear about it if you are listening to this episode. So link in the show notes, and that is property-strategy.com/PBB for the Property Business Breakthrough. All about breaking through your biggest barrier to being able to grow your property business with more ease, joy, flow, better results more easily. And that's taking place in September 2024 in Italy. So for now, as we are knee deep in December 2023 in the UK, I hope you are getting into the festive spirit and being kind to yourself through what is a tiring time of the year. So loads of love, and we will pick up with you again this time next week. Bye for now.